how can people, develop these behaviors or habits? Now let's say if I have a goal, I want to become something. A lot of people have goals of starting a business or doing something that they love, but according to you, what are some practical tips that people can do to make sure they achieve those goals and those dreams, and make sure they're also changing their behaviors and their patterns, because you understand human behavior?
The two principles that changed for me, and they're first is live your day by the clock, but your life with a vision.
Hmm.
Do what is
Interesting.
needed today so that you can get through today, but make sure today contributes to tomorrow. Don't be a time plus matter plus chance.
Hmm.
Don't be a Mr. Ziegler used to say, don't be a wandering generality, be a meaningful specific.
Wow.
Okay,
Awesome.
live your day by the clock, but your life with a vision. The second is understand that inspect what you expect.
Hmm.
Another way to put that principle is measure what you treasure. Uh, you have to have benchmarks. So people say, I really want to write a book. I said, how many have you read last week? And they say,
Hmm.
what's that got to do with anything? Well, you want to write a book because you want people to read how brilliant you are. But have you actually been consistent in reading how brilliant others are? See, I
Hmm.
read on average, at any given time, I'm reading 5 different books, but on average, I read at least one book a week, and I've done that for the last 27 years.
Wow.
So writing my fifth book gives me great joy, but in that process, I've read over 5,000.
Hmm.
Now, every day I wake up at 4 o'clock, non-negotiable discipline. When this pandemic started, I used to wake up at 5. When the pandemic started, I started waking up at 4, and someone said, why? I said, this is my new digital discipline. If everybody is going to go very 1 hour ahead of them.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. The last part just blurred.
See, most of the times I usually wake up at 5 in the morning. That's been my habit. But when this pandemic started, I started waking up at 4. I said,
Mhm.
because for the first time in human history, the playing field is level. We're all virtual now. Everybody's working out of the house. Nobody has an advantage. Everybody's behind a computer or in front of a screen. So I said, if everybody has the same starting point, I want to be 1 hour early.
Wow.
Just discipline. So
Interesting.
for 30 minutes in the morning, I'll read something that is inspirational to me. My devotion, my faith is centered to me. I'm an evangelical Christian, so I read my devotion.
Hmm.
Then from 4:30 to 5, I will take some of the concepts from that devotion as an application that I can include in my podcast.
Wow.
From 5 to 5:30, I'll record my podcast. 6 o'clock, I go on my 5 mile walk. Every day I go on a 5 mile walk. One day I go on a 5 mile walk. One day I'll walk 30 minutes to the gym, work out there for an hour, and then walk back. I do that 6 days a week.
Wow.
Now, here's the most important principle I can give to people listening and watching on listening as far as success is concerned. The non-negotiable in success is personal discipline.
Mm.
Sybil Stanton, an author who wrote a book called The 25-Hour Woman, she said, discipline is not on your back, needling you with imperatives. It's at your side, encouraging you with incentives. I add to that, the day you make yourself a slave to discipline, the world will open up to you.
Interesting.
But most successful people are boring, which means
Mm.
if you came to my house, I live in the same house. I've lived in the same house for 25 years. I can afford a bigger house, but I chose not to. Why? I use the Wesleyan model. Make all you can, save all you can, give all you can. So when this time's down, I was fortunate we had some money put away, but I didn't just use my savings to keep my lifestyle up. I diminished my lifestyle and used my savings to help other people.
That's awesome.
So these are principles, these are habits of the heart. I'm not bragging on it. I'm a very modest person. We drive used cars. I live in a very small house. And the reason is, many years ago, a pastor in Australia gave me the principle of success. He says, always be learning that your yearning should never exceed your earning.
That those are some amazing principles. Like, wow, like these are things that I'll have to sit and make notes of and paste it on my wall, so that whenever I
Sure.
wake up, I see those things, and that kind of reflects, because the the things that you're talking about, right? These are things that you have to reflect on, right? You have to
Sure.
think exactly, make sense as to what how are people able to achieve success, and how, if you implement this in our lives, you're able to, not just become successful, but also get a control of your own life.
Yeah, and I've given you so many principles, and that's the reason, I've worked at it for 30 years, but each one has taken me months to develop and learn.
Exactly.
All of them didn't happen at the same time, they happened over a period of time. But
True.
I'll give you a very simple illustration. I have an MBA. Now, IMT is a top 10 institute. It's quite well known. It's got branches all over the country. But back when I went, it was the only place that I could go to that didn't have an entrance exam. That's how I
Okay.
got in. I would not get in today.
Okay.
I was, voted one of their top alumni and all that, but I wouldn't get in today. But so I've had the bookends of my academic career are okay because it ended up well. But if I look back over a period of time and all the different things that have manifested, the one thing I can realize is when I went to work for Mr. Ziegler, I'll never forget this illustration in my life. He was talking to me one day and he said, always be willing to do the unusual, always be willing to participate in the unnatural, always try to go in the places where it's unacceptable, and suddenly you'll realize. So what he was saying is be a contrarian, be opposite, but be programmed. So I put that away at the back of my head. And in talking one day, he was sharing with people. He says, Krish, do you know that I do better when my shoes are shined? And it's an old habit. They taught this in the NCC or the Sea Cadet Corps, or in our PT in school, they would say, if your shoes are shined, you feel better. So shine your shoes before
Yeah.
you come to school. So I just thought. So one day we were in a hotel in rural Iowa, and I walked up to his room and I knocked on his door. It was 10 o'clock. And I said, Mr. Ziegler, I saw a shoe shine guy downstairs, and I asked him if he'd stay open for another 15 minutes. And he said he would. I said, so I'm going to go and I'd like to take your shoes and get them shined. So he says, why would you want to do that? I said, I couldn't help but notice that when we came off the plane today, your shoe had a small scuff mark on it. And you told me that you do better when your shoes are shined. So if I get your shoes shined, tomorrow you'll do better in the front of the group. And I'm the one who sells books and tapes at the back. So if you do better in front of the group, I'll sell more product at the back of the group. We'll make more money. I'll make a better commission. So I tied his having shoes shined to my outcome.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a radical thought.
True.
Unnatural. It's
Exactly.
unacceptable. It's unexplored. And so he gave me his shoes. And then everywhere we went, he would tell the story. He says, here's a boy with a master's degree who knocked on my door at 10 o'clock asking me to shine my shoes. He'll go far in life. Many years later, when he got Alzheimer's and was forgetting who he was, I was the only one he would allow to take him to the bathroom and lean on me, because it was pride and dignity at that point.
Yeah.
So I tell people, I said, when you take someone's shoes to be shined when you don't need to, they'll lean on you when they have to.
Interesting. Wow, those are amazing insights. I mean, yeah.